Hello and welcome to Gamereactor Live. I'm Nick. I'm joined today with Philip here in the studio. Sorry for the slight delay. Our computer did not want us to do this on time, I guess.
Nope.
First hour we're going to do Gamereactor news, and then second hour we're going to take a look at the month of February, games to look for in February. For the first hour we're joined by Bengt Lemne, our usual guest, I would say, and by Ricardo from Gamereactor Portugal, editor-in-chief on the Portuguese Gamereactor site. So thank you for joining us, guys. And we will jump right into the first news story, which is Microsoft acquires Gears of War IP. So I'll run through this quickly and then we'll have a discussion about it. So Microsoft has announced that they've bought the Gears of War IP from Epic Games. The next Gears of War experience is already in development at Black Tusk Studio in Vancouver. Rod Ferguson, who was the producer on Gears of War at Epic, has joined the studio. Before he actually left Epic Games before they were done with Gears of War Judgment, to finish Bioshock Infinite at Irrational Games, and he was then set to set up a studio with Take-Two in San Francisco. But we now know that he has instead joined the studio in Vancouver to work on the next Gears of War. And I have two quotes for you guys. The first is from Phil Spencer from Microsoft. It all comes back to our commitment to Xbox fans. The Gears of War franchise has a very strong, passionate, and valued fan base on Xbox. Over 22 million units have been sold across all Gears of War titles worldwide, grossing over $1 billion US. This franchise and these fans are part of the soul of Xbox. By acquiring this franchise, Microsoft Studios will continue to offer them more of their favorite games and entertainment experiences from the Gears of War universe. And we have Tim Sweeney, who is the CEO at Epic Games, I think. Epic Games has reached an agreement to sell the Gears of War intellectual property rights to Microsoft. We're very proud of the franchise we built in close partnership with Microsoft over the past decade, and are happy that this agreement enables Microsoft to forge ahead with the Gears universe on their industry-leading platforms, as Epic concentrates its efforts on new projects. Epic remains totally dedicated to supporting Xbox One and is licensing the Unreal Engine 4 technology to Microsoft in support of their future products. So let's start out with you, Bengt. What do you think of this whole thing?
Well, I think the simple truth is that Epic, I'm not sure that they had the team to do a new Gears of War. If you remember, Gears of War Judgment was made by their Polish studio, People Can Fly, and there's been a number of high-profile defections from Epic recently. So, you know, I think it's a case of Epic wanting to do different things than doing more Gears of War titles. Obviously, they're putting a lot of efforts into Fortnite, and that is also more in line with what their new owner, partial owners, would like them to do, I think. So I think it makes sense for Microsoft to take control, first of all, because they want to make sure that it's a good product, the next Gears of War. It's very important. The Judgment didn't sell as well as they should have. And, you know, but there's a lot of interesting things to this story, you know, regardless of that. Now, I wasn't, you know, Epic owned the IP, but obviously Microsoft would not, you know, they have some sort of, they had.
Okay. Bengt, we can't hear you anymore, so I'll let Philip come with a comment on this. What do you think of this story? Are you a big Gears of War fan?
Well, actually, being more of a PlayStation player, I don't have that much invested in the Gears of War series. I've definitely been envious of the series as such, and it's exciting to see that it's moving on in a different direction. But yeah, with this particular story, I don't really have that much background knowledge of the workings.
But in that way, it makes sense that Microsoft says this is a series for Xbox and Microsoft fans, and that they want that to continue that way, because as a PlayStation gamer, you don't have that feeling maybe of the franchise that other.
No, I think they would have a hard time bringing it over. So yeah, it makes perfect sense to keep them. And also, I think it's very healthy for these console manufacturers and companies to actually have their own IPs that they can keep and like kind of differentiate from each other.
Yeah.
So as a Sony fan, I feel that it's a healthy for Sony as well.
Yeah.
That they keep their franchise and Sony keeps theirs.
It's quite interesting because we kind of had the same thing with God of War as well. Both GOW, they had 3 games, and then they had the 4th one, which wasn't a numbered sequel.
Yeah, which
both didn't do too well.
No.
Now we know what's happening with Gears of War. It's going to be interesting to see with what happens with God of War.
Yeah, with the PS4 and everything.
Yeah. But yeah, and then the whole thing with Rod Ferguson, does that surprise you after we heard that he was going to set up a studio in San Francisco with Take-Two? Now he's chosen to move to Vancouver and do Gears of War again. Maybe he missed it when he actually left.
Probably, yeah. That happens quite often. That developers kind of move back to old projects.
Yeah. And Bengt, I hear you are back, so I'm just going to ask you, how important do you see Rod Ferguson being on this project as a producer? He's not really the creative lead on it. Do you think it's important that he's back on the franchise?
I think for legacy it is, because he's been around since the first Gears of War, and while Cliff Bleszinski was the sort of the lead creative on the series, and he's obviously not going to join Black Tusk, I think Ferguson has a lot of experience in the industry, and he's been around it, and he knows the design philosophies that went into the Gears of War game. So I'm sure that he will be sort of a safeguard to make sure that that Black Tusk doesn't take the franchise in a direction that that wouldn't be what the fans want.
I guess also his quality as a producer is why Irrational picked him up to help finish BioShock Infinite, and maybe that's what Microsoft thinks that they need to make sure that this franchise continues.
Yeah, I mean, Rod Ferguson worked at Microsoft long before he joined Epic, and he has a long history in the industry, and he has a very good reputation all around. So it's definitely part of that, and I'm more curious to hear what happened with him in 2K and that studio that he was setting up, because he was the lead of that. He was the head of that studio,
basically.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what happened there or whatever, but I'm sure that Microsoft probably came with a very good offer because I think it's worth a lot to them to have a name on there that's so intimately, related with the series.
Yeah.
So,
Ricardo, are you a big Gears fan, and does this make you feel more comfortable on the next Gears of War game?
Yeah, I love the first 2, but I didn't play the third one, and I didn't play the last one, Judgment. I think it's a smart move for everyone, both Microsoft and Epic. Gears of War has been a game that it's been associated a lot with Unreal Engine. This will remain for this one, or do you think they will build a new engine for the game? What do you guys think?
I think they said that Unreal Engine 4, they made a deal with that as part of this, so it will be Unreal Engine 4, and I think, which is kind of interesting because Microsoft haven't really used Unreal Engine that much for their own first-party games.
Yeah.
I think Fable Legends is also Unreal 4, but it's probably, we could probably see Microsoft and Epic having a larger partnership in regards of Unreal Engine for this generation. I think this might be sort of like a way in for Epic to have more first-party Microsoft titles being developed on
of course
engine.
This is like the part of the deal that we know about now, but there can be tons of other things like that. Epic lets Microsoft buy this IP if they promise to use Unreal 4 for this game and for other games, or other side deals as part of this?
I mean, it's in Epic's interest also that because Gears of War, the next
gen.
one, is going to be a showcase for Unreal Engine 4, whatever. Everyone is going to look to it, so it's in their interest to make it look as good as possible and to help Microsoft in every way they can.
Yeah, but I think this next Gears has a lot to prove because we had 3 games with Cliffy B. And I guess we all agree that they were pretty good.
Yeah.
They came up with.
All right, let's move on to the next news story, which is about DICE and Battlefield 4. So after all the problems that we've heard about with Battlefield 4 after its launch, all the online problems and all that, DICE has announced through their official Battlefield blog that they will have something called Battlefield 4 Player Appreciation Month in February. Carl Magnusson Trotsson wrote on the official Battlefield blog. We interviewed him at E3, didn't we, Bengt?
Yes, and I think it's pronounced Carl Magnus.
Okay, I'll trust you on the Swedish then. He basically on the blog says thanks for the dedication and support from all the players. DICE takes the feedback very serious, and it's helped make the game better. They will have more details on the improvements that they're doing to Battlefield 4 very soon. But what's actually happening in this month, Player Appreciation Month, is every day when you log in, you'll earn a battle pack, bronze or silver, which can contain XP boost or camos. Something that Carl says that normally would take around 30 hours to earn, you'll actually earn it just by logging in. Weekends will be bronze. Weekdays will be bronze, and weekends will be silver. You will get shortcut bundles for free, 2 for normal players, grenade and handguns, which means all grenades and handguns will be unlocked if you want, and 2 extra for premium members, which means you'll unlock all DMRs and all shotguns. There'll be 1 double XP weekend in February and 1 extra for premium members. And there will be something they call community missions where you can join together to earn gold battle packs. And they say there'll be more communication from devs, including interviews. So let me start with you, Ricardo, this time. What do you think of this? Is this important for DICE to do this? And will this help the whole Battlefield situation?
Yeah, I think they are bribing players to forgive them for all the troubles the game had. And I think it's the right move. I think with this they will attract more attention, and if the game remains stable, it can be an important boost to the game itself, and I think it's important to attract old gamers that perhaps left the game because of all the problems. So I think it's a smart
Are any of you
move.
guys big Battlefield guys?
No.
No, I've played this one on PS4 a little bit with Mike in the evenings, and we haven't really had any huge problems. We played it a little bit late last year, and we played it again this month. So, I think that they have some issues with streamlining the experience, but it seems like they're in a place, at least on the PS4 where I'm playing, where the game is fully playable and so on and so forth. And I think that is actually why this month happens now, because I think they're confident that people can actually join in and that they will be able to go online and they will be able to play and they will have a good experience. And that's the time to sort of invite people back and to, bribe them and give them a little bit extra. I think that these kind of things would probably have been available earlier. They would probably have done more earlier if they hadn't had that many problems. Because if people were trying to log in and wouldn't be able to play, and they had this kind of thing, that would just have made them even more upset.
You get free stuff if you log in, but you can't log in.
I can't play during double XP weekend.
So that was actually going to be my next question. I mean, does any of this matter if the game works? I guess you already answered that. How do you feel about it, Philip?
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, they just released an update, I think, yesterday on PC and Xbox One. And interesting thing with the PC version, if you got an AMD card that's compatible with the Mantle thingy, it will actually do a lot for your depending on your anywhere from like 15% extra to more than 50% extra performance, which is, you know, quite a lot. So they're continuing to do a lot of things that are not just fixing bugs and glitches, but, you know, actually improving the experience for players. And as always with a Battlefield game, it's not just 1 year. This will be rolled out with new content for 2 years, just like they did with Battlefield 3. So it's not really about. Of course, it's important to be ready when it's out, but you know, there's still time to correct these things. And
Yeah. Philip, what do you think of this?
Well, I play quite a lot of Battlefield. I played it a lot on both the PS3 and the PS4. And yes, it's obvious there's been problems, but like the rest of you guys, I haven't had any kind of game-breaking issues with the game. It's been small things here and there. And again, like I also think it's kind of like a double-edged sword, this whole giving away a lot of stuff all at once, because for one, yeah, the players who've had it since launch, they'll be able to kind of catch up to some of the items they might have unlocked if they've been able to play since launch. On the other hand, newcomers might find it, like myself, not being a newcomer, but part of my enjoyment of playing a Battlefield game is getting the unlocks.
Yeah.
So if I unlock too much too quick, I think the longevity of the game is going to get diminish a bit for me.
And you don't get that progression feel that is so
exactly.
important.
Like I mean, it's cool to say, all right, here you go, here's a bunch of unlocks. But at the same time, I often find myself in games like Battlefield or Call of Duty that once I've unlocked everything, kind of some of the fun kind of does. And obviously there's packs coming out if you're a premium member. There's all these DLCs that are going to add more stuff. But still, like I don't know. I'm even though I play a lot of Battlefield, I actually don't see myself taking a huge advantage of this. I think I might want to hold off a bit because I enjoy unlocking these battle packs in due time and kind of.
Yeah. I guess that's the balance, because when I look at the things you get handguns and grenades, and if you're premium, you get DMRs and shotguns. And I'm like, this is not something that's super interesting to me. But as you said, if I got all the assault rifles or sniper rifles that I would be using, then you end up in the other camp, as you said, where like, what is it I'm gonna go for when I'm actually playing? Because I too enjoy, like you see the XP jump up on the screen when you kill people, and you're like, oh, I'm getting closer to the next goal. So it's a weird balance of, I don't know if any of this is really interesting. And it's like if when I've played, I haven't had huge problems either. It's actually been mainly in single player where I've gotten stuck and like or fallen through the level, and I restarted and it worked. But I don't know. It's that weird balance of it needs to be good enough to incentivize people to come back, but not good enough. And if the game, for the people where the game doesn't work, is this gonna really compensate for having bought a game full price? I don't know.
Yeah.
Any final comments? No. Okay.
I think that what you're saying is true with the running through the content, but I also think that there's probably something sneaky about that. We know they're going to bring out DLC packs, and I would assume that when they do something like this, they probably have something around the corner that they're going to talk about soon that's going to be something for people to look forward to. So I'm sure that that's sort of being considered.
I will say I heard something. It's weird because I've heard some people who if they hadn't gone online on message boards and stuff, they wouldn't have noticed that there were problems with Battlefield 4. And a lot of people who just can't play it or had experiences like Gillen where he actually throws out the disc from his PS4. And I heard a group of people where I think they were playing on the PC. Maybe Gillen just doesn't know how to operate his PS4.
Maybe he hit the eject button.
But that some people were like, every time they played that one level with the skyscraper that was falling down, that every time it started falling down, that the game would just crash. And that would be like, that's kind of the showpiece of that level. So that's a little bit sad. All right, I'm going to move on to the... Yes, Ricardo?
I actually played the game. Yeah, I did play one match online on the PlayStation 4. just a few days before the console launched, and I even streamed over Twitch, and it ran just fine. It was a very stable experience. So I agree that most people, some people,
Yeah, and then we'll have
probably
some
wouldn't
people who are
even
just sitting
notice
like, oh, I
that
can't
there
play
were
my
problems
game.
with the game to start with. So
Yeah, that's the vocal group. All right,
yeah.
Yeah,
the
and
next
they're on the
news
message
piece.
boards instead
Let's
and
jump
on
to
Twitter.
that one. It's about Nintendo. So we had two news
Yours.
pieces on that I picked up from the UK side that I actually think Bengt wrote both of them about Nintendo. So first on Wednesday, we got the report that President Satoru Iwata, and I'm going to try to pronounce all the names, he takes a 50% pay cut, and Shigeru Miyamoto and Genyo Takeda takes 30% pay cuts, and there will be other that will take 20%. Then we have the statement that Iwata made on Thursday, the sort of press conference thing they had. What?
Investor relations. Yeah.
Okay.
Investor
All right, and what he said
relations
there was,
briefing, I think is the
and this is a quote,
official-
dedicated video
official
game
term.
platforms which integrate hardware and software will remain our core business. And then he talked about how Nintendo wants to stay ahead of the curve and not just follow suit, come up with things like DS and Wii. And another quote from Iwata, Nintendo is not a resource-rich company with only a little more than 5,000 employees on a consolidated basis. We cannot achieve a strong presence by imitating others and simply competing in terms of size. We have often received advice on overcoming our weakness in comparison with other companies. There have been questioned about why Nintendo doesn't follow suit when something is already booming. Then he says things about the Wii U. He says it's currently in a very difficult position. It's failed to convey the useful. Nintendo has failed to convey the usefulness of the gamepad, and it's Miyamoto's top priority to find use of the gamepad. We found out that Mario Kart 8 is coming in May. Nintendo thinks the 3DS is doing good despite not meeting its goal. Then Iwata talked about something called Nintendo Network ID, which should tie together the handheld and stationary platforms. He mentioned they were going to license out IPs now, and Nintendo aims to expand the whole Fit populations. And then I have a couple of final things. A quote again, following others into the exceedingly crowded market of mobile applications of the market of wearable technology that is expected to overcome increasingly competitive and fighting with brute force is not our way of doing business. Yet again, it is our intention to go into a new blue ocean. This refers to the new business area. With that said, we wish to achieve an integrated hardware software platform business that instead of providing mobile or wearable features will be characterized by a new area of what we like to call non-wearable technology. When we use health as the keyword, some may inevitably think about Wii Fit. However, we are considering themes that we have not incorporated to games for our existing platforms, including the hardware that will enable such an idea. We will aim to establish a blue ocean. And then final thing, Nintendo expects this business to begin to contribute profits in fiscal 2017. That's ending March 2017. So, should we start with Bengt?
Yes, lots to talk about.
Yes. Let's start with the pay cuts. What do you think of that?
Yes, lots to talk about.
What do you think of the pay cuts?
I mean, the background. What? The pay cuts. Well, I mean, it's not as severe as taking, or dropping yourself falling onto a sword or something like that. I mean, this is sort of a Japanese thing. Basically, apologizing for the poor results, because this is all about the missed projections that Nintendo reported recently, and the fact that they're probably going to have a pretty heavy loss for this fiscal year. Which, obviously they're not alone in the industry with this. I think EA just announced a very poor result for the last quarter. It's a tough environment right now. And but Nintendo, you know, reading between the lines of, because you basically covered what they talked about, but reading between the lines is, you know, it's interesting that Nintendo needs to address that they are not abandoning their platforms, and they're not going third party, and they're not going to mobile, because that's basically what they were saying, which, you know, nobody really to do that. Them to sort of look at the money, sort of approach that with some sort of strategy, but it's not going to be like classic Nintendo titles will be available on iPad or anything like that, as far as I understand it. But it's interesting, and of course the whole health thing came just out of left field. I have no idea what they're talking about there, and it's going to be interesting to see what that is. That's actual. Of course,
Before the Wii
Miyamoto,
U
he
came
should have been
out.
working for the gamepad 3 years ago. Because, you know, if this year we won't see those games until maybe 2016 or something. I mean, there's a delay in this that's pretty severe, and I do agree with them, their assessment that selling the gamepad as an idea and you know, making it something that you know, a selling point for the Wii U is something they've really failed at. They haven't been able to explain why people should get the Wii U and why this gamepad
from
is
the
something
beginning
that's
they've been very
new,
unclear about
different,
the
and
whole
that,
Wii U
you
thing.
know,
I think there's
benefits
still a lot of
gaming.
people who think that it's
And that
an
is their main
accessory
problem.
for the original Wii.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, getting out there. You know, they got out when they had an uphill struggle in terms of that as well. So they had an uphill struggle in terms of that as well. You know, it's not just about the fact that the Wii was very successful, it sold a lot, but the last couple of years it just wasn't that relevant and people didn't pay attention to it. So they had an uphill struggle because of that as well. And then of course it's not helped by the fact that people don't really
All right, I'm
that people had a
gonna
hard time realizing that it's something
let
that
Philip
is a
have
completely
his
new
comment
console.
on this. What do you think of this whole these two-part Nintendo news?
Yeah, well, I mean, the pay cuts. I mean, it's again, yes, it seems like a very Japanese way of kind of, again, accepting defeat somewhat. Like, I mean,
It actually, sorry to jump in, it reminds me a lot of when the PSN went down a couple years ago. The first thing that the Cassie Wright and the Sony presidents did was simply stand on a stage and bow for like a minute or half a minute or something, and then say they're sorry and explain it. Like, you don't see that outside Japan.
No.
They're very, very much about honor and like.
It would be cool to see President Obama or something just
be
stand
like
there and just let people throw rotten fruit and tomatoes as we do in the West, and people would not. Yeah, but again, like, I mean, the Wii U, the launch of the Wii U, how they've handled it, it's been kind of a horror show to watch. I mean, the sales are horrible. The awareness of the console is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, the great sales that they saw from the Wii have completely disappeared again, because I think they overestimated their casual audience. I mean, the casual audience has turned out to be an audience that might buy a console once every 20 years. I mean, those guys are still fine with that console sitting there next to their TV. They'll play some Wii Sports on it once in a while. That's it.
Or maybe they found out, okay, this wasn't completely what we wanted.
Yes. Also, I think a lot of other people just found it to be kind of too simple of a machine to work with, like as a proper gaming machine. So there's that, and yeah, it's just also the naming of the console has caused so much confusion, especially in the casual market. I mean, is this just another peripheral for the Wii?
And the same goes for the games that you have Super Mario Brothers Wii and Super Mario Brothers U and Sports Wii U, and like it's very complicated.
They've handled it very poorly, let's just put it that way. And I mean, Nintendo, such a huge company, should know better.
Yeah.
But again, I think there might be a question of just kind of resting a bit on their laurels from last time.
It's also that thing as being talked about with showing like why you need the Wii U, why you need the gamepad. I think they've gotten better with the 3DS at doing better 3D in the 3DS games, and just showing why that's a good platform. Maybe that's why it's performing better. And then you see something like Mario Kart where you have the gamepad, and the only thing you use it for is there's a big horn on the screen. It's like you need to come up with something where people think, okay, this is something I want, like this gamepad for. It makes sense. I want this game, and it's really thought through.
Yeah, it seems that they've launched a Wii without motion controls, pretty much. It would have been the same situation there. The main selling point is not being used.
Yeah. All right, Bengt and Ricardo, are you still with us? Anything to add?
If you look at even the Super Mario 3D World and now the upcoming Donkey Kong, it doesn't use any gamepad functions. I mean, and it's a Wii U exclusive. So with each game they are launching, they are using less and less the gamepad. So they must invert the situation. I think what they said they were going to do, it's mandatory if they want to even have a slight chance of improving sales.
Don't you think they created a problem for themselves with the whole thing that you want? If I play on my TV now, I want some functionality on the gamepad, but they're also pushing the functionality just like you have with the Vita and the PS4 with the remote play. That if I'm sitting with my girlfriend and she wants to watch TV, I can play the game on the gamepad instead. That it's kind of hard to do both.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only place where I really feel that they've done good way of utilizing the gamepad is in multiplayer, like asymmetric multiplayer. That's fun, but that also means that you gotta have friends over. You gotta have
local
Wiimotes,
local multiplayer.
Yeah. And that's so. But and as you say, when you play it on your own, you want to be able to move it to the gamepad screen and continue to play there. That's a very nice feature that I think hardcore gamers really enjoy. So yeah, I mean it does sort of limit that sort of thing as well. Also, like adding second gamepad support, I think that's something that would perhaps be interesting to do because it would open up more options as well for them. But overall, I just feel like it's like the smart glass thing. But it's the only thing is like this is the selling point for the Wii U. Smart glass thing is just something on top if maybe you want to do that. But for Nintendo, this is essential.
Do you guys think we need a Wii U price cut for it to compete with the other consoles?
But they said that that's not coming and that's not an option. I think that it's going to be their only option very soon.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's also like if Sony is pulling out ahead of Microsoft now as it looks, Microsoft are going to cut the price of Xbox One, and there's going to be increased pressure on Nintendo then as well. It trickles down this sort of ladder.
Yeah.
So if there is, I mean, there's rumors now, and we're getting to that later, but of a cheaper Xbox One. I think Sony can happily keep the price they have right now because they're selling what they've got basically. And
they got a buzz going for the PS4.
But yeah, I mean, the price should come down, and I think the sooner it comes down, the better for Nintendo.
Yeah, we saw it work for the 3DS. They did a price cut, and if you bought before the price cut, you got a lot of free games. I will say to people in the chat, Philip is manning the chat, so if you have suggestions or comments...
I do actually have one comment here from Mass Rosarius. Isn't it hard to do a cross-platform release and use all of the various console gimmicky features?
That's a good point.
I mean, again, our discussion here was more about, I mean, we mentioned Mario and such, so, I mean, exclusives, there shouldn't be a problem, there's no excuse. But again, sure, there's definitely going to be issues, and we're already seeing them, kind of little things they're trying to implement, but not completely, like Assassin's Creed, for example. Black Flag. The touchpad on the PS4, sure, it can be used to kind of scroll around the map, but does that enhance my experience at all?
It's a balance for the developers that that if they make it too awesome, you feel like it's lacking on the other platforms.
Yeah.
But with this thing, there could be things that they could do with the gamepad and the Vita that's on the PS4. But then there's the whole thing. PS4 is more powerful than the Wii U. It's quite a headache for developers. What do you guys think?
I think it's very simple for developers because usually the Wii U version is not the prioritized version. So they sit on that and then they say, oh, we'll port it over in the last few months.
And we'll see if we can
and
add
then
something.
It's very simple to do. Okay, we'll do a map on the gamepad.
Yeah, that's what everybody does now.
Something that you can press, maybe some special moves you can press on the gamepad, simple controls or whatever it may be. And quite frankly, it's never a part of the original game design.
Yeah, it's not enough for you to want to buy that version then. It needs to be something that you think, this is not just, oh, they added a map. It needs to be something that's, wow, this really makes the game better on this platform. So much better that I'd rather have this than better graphics and all the other stuff you get on the next.
I mean, Rayman Legends is the only example that I can think of that's the other way around, where it's actually a Wii U game that got ported over to other platforms. And then, of course, that works better.
Yeah.
So,
Ricardo?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Rayman Legends is probably one of the best example of a multi-platform game that is actually best on the Wii U because of the gamepad.
Yeah, and I wonder if Ubisoft consider that game a success if the experience they had with that is going to be one they want to do that with the next one. Cause
I don't think it's sold on any platform really enough.
Actually, it's right here. But one thing I think people aren't noticing, it's the help thing. I think that if they sell this right, this can be huge. I mean, not from a games perspective, but if they can sell this to people that not as games but as a health product, something that can help you improve your life quality, I think they can have something huge here. So I'm curious to see this.
Yeah, that's a good point. What they need to do is something that they did with the Wii, that they kind of created a different market for themselves.
I mean, this is a market that they've sort of approached before with the Brain Age games and of course with the Fit games, but that has sort of been within the gaming space, and it sounds like they're going to be a little bit further from the gaming space, but that it will blend in as well.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and of course it's a very Nintendo thing to do. I mean, this is a company that's always had their fingers in different weird things.
Yeah.
You know, especially back in the Yamauchi days, they had some weird endeavors, and of course it's not a video game company at all from the beginning. So
no. All right, let's move on to the next news story. Funcom charged with suspicions of trading infringement. So Økokrim, which is the Norwegian National Authority for Investigation and Prosecution of Economic and Environmental Crime, has, according to a report on NewsWeb, charged MMO developers Funcom with suspicion of infringement of the Securities Trading Act. There's doubt over the information that they have provided Økokrim between August 2011 and July 2012. Funcom is cooperating right now with Økokrim. And this comes after a report that Funcom employees were sent home from work. E24 states that the Norway's Economic Crime Unit arrived at Funcom's offices this morning, which was the other day, and began investigating the situation, and that the company's stock has been paused on the Oslo stock market, the Oslo Stock Exchange. Ricardo, I guess you're the first away from Norway, but what do you think of this situation?
Well, actually, this one kind of slipped by me, so I only got to read it like a few minutes before this. Yeah. But I'm not really sure what to think about this. I mean, it's something that we have to approach carefully, because apparently they are being under investigation of what I think it's a crime, right?
Yeah.
So, but they are not convicted or anything.
No,
So
that's true.
we have to be very careful with how we approach this. But it's a weird situation, and we usually say that where smoke, there's fire. So I don't know, but let's see what comes out of this.
Yeah, it's true. We have to remember that they have not been convicted of anything yet, and they are cooperating with the authorities.
Yeah. This is it gets so dramatic when there's a raid at an office.
Yeah.
But this is of course an investigation that has been ongoing for quite some time, and the background is that during the build up to the secret world, Funcom were reporting pretty positive stuff. Like there's a lot of people on the beta.
Yeah.
And they were building that up, and then before launch there were reports that things didn't look quite as good, and the stock plummeted. And what the case is about is whether some of the executives knew about this and offloaded stock when it was high, and then and used information that wasn't readily available for the market, which is obviously an insider crime. And that is something that could be both trouble for the company, but perhaps even more so for the people who took advantage of this information, because they could be facing jail time and things like that.
Yeah.
If the law is similar in Norway to other places, which I assume it is. But it's also curious that it's taken them so long to do this raid.
Yeah,
because,
that's what I was thinking. Like, this is up until July 2012. That's almost 2 years ago.
Yes, but of course, Funcom is a publicly traded company, so they have to keep a lot of things on file. So it's not like they can just destroy evidence or anything. No. It's not quite like that. I think it's not as it sounds very dramatic, but I think basically they went there, they took the bookkeeping, and now they're going through all the papers, all the meeting protocols and all of that stuff to see what these people knew about, and if there should have been more information to the market released.
Yeah.
I would assume that's what's the case. But Funcom have gone out with a message that it's business as usual. They continue to work on their games.
And do we know what they're working on now?
They are. Obviously the Secret World is still live, and they have a live team working on that. They're also working on the Lego minifigures online, which is more of a casual children's MMO. They have sort of moved away from. I don't think they will release something as big as Age of Conan or the Secret World anymore. I think those days are gone. Funcom is a smaller company these days, and you may have heard of some of the leads from the Secret World team. They're now at Red Thread Games, and they're doing Dreamfall chapters, the sequel to The Longest Journey and Dreamfall. So. It's not. I think the days of Age of Conan and Secret World projects that size is over for Funcom, at least until they recover.
All right. Yeah. Philip, anything to add?
Not really. I mean, this is one of those stories which is very complicated to get into, and if you're not really business savvy and so on, it can be kind of hard to tell what's going on. But
it is really about the business, it's not really about the games.
Exactly. So again, I take a wait and see approach to this, and let's see how it affects us as gamers, and
see if they get convicted of something.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to the next news story then. PS Vita Slim pre-orders due to start in the UK and hopefully in the rest of Europe. The Vita Slim, or Vita 2000 as someone calls it as well, is already out in Japan. Of course, we saw all the different colored versions of the new Vita last fall. It's the smaller, thinner Vita with LED screen instead of OLED. As I said, it should soon be available in the UK, and its expected retail price is £189. So, who's a Vita fan here? Are we excited for this LED version?
I'm kind of happy that I got the OLED version.
That's what I keep saying to people when they ask me.
Yeah.
We should. I hope we'll soon do a comparison video of the two screens. But what I've seen so far is that the OLED screen looks way better, and this is simply a way for Sony to do a cheaper Vita.
Absolutely, and there's another thing that I'm thinking about, the recommended retail price. I mean, I don't know what the situation is in the rest of Europe, but that is actually higher than what you can buy a Vita for right now.
Oh, really?
In Sweden, at least. Yes.
I haven't checked that in a while.
It's the price has dropped in several places quite a lot. So this is meant. I mean, this is lower than the recommended retail price of the original Vita.
Yeah.
But I don't think that a lot of stores still keep that price up.
No, because they won't sell if they do that.
No, it needs to be, it needs to be cheaper. I think there are some improvements. I would love to see the battery improvements and that stuff on the big boy, the OLED one. But yeah, I think that what we're probably looking at here is Sony in Europe had a little bit bigger stocks of the original Vita than they had in Japan. So they needed to work off some of that, and this I don't know, but I'm not sure they're gonna have two side-by-side models.
I don't
in
think
the long
I
run.
think
But
they tend to. It's the same. They announced the Vita TV. They're pushing that out in Japan first, and then one market at a time. That's the easiest way to push this. I think that this is going for a different market than the original Vita. That was the hardcore fans that had to have it right away. And now they're trying to push it out. Like it's kind of a little bit like an iPhone launch where you get it in all the different colors, and they're going after the people who maybe don't care about the OLED screen. That's this is a good-looking handheld device now.
It's not much more expensive than a DualShock 4. So if you need an extra controller for a PS4.
Ricardo, are you a Vita owner?
Yes, I am. Proud one. I think it's a great platform, especially with all the new indie releases.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome to play them there. But I actually yesterday I talked with my local Sony, and they weren't commenting on this. I don't think they are ready to launch it in Portugal anytime soon, which is weird because Sony is huge here. So this news is only for the rest of you guys because
maybe it's only UK then.
Yeah, apparently no Slim for us.
Philip, are you a Vita guy?
Yes, very much so. Got one at launch and very much enjoyed. I'll say like Bengt, I'm very happy that I have the OLED version. I do hear good things about the LED display. I do hear from some people that have had hands-on time with it that in natural light it does give a bit better picture. And also it deteriorates slower because the OLED is made out of natural, like organic material, so it will last longer. But still, I mean, as long as it lasts, I'll be hanging on to my OLED. And again, also to say with this whole it being available in the UK and not the rest of Europe, I think this is very much a Sony Europe thing that they do tend to do a bit too much, I find, where they focus their energies on the UK and kind of forget about the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
We've seen this before with other things, such as the video store on the PlayStation 3 that never saw the light of day. And there's been so many examples of just kind of Europe being seen as maybe just 3 major countries for Sony, which is sad because there are a lot of other countries in Europe that are very much Sony-centered when it comes to, or Sony-centric when it comes to their console
Do you think
games.
it has anything to do with, because in most of Europe, PlayStation is bigger than Xbox, but in the UK, Xbox is, I don't know if it is that now, but previous gen at least, it was Xbox sold better than the PS3. That they
Possibly.
feel like this is the area where they could gain things
Xbox
from
One
it.
now.
What?
I think PS4 sells better than Xbox One in the UK, but 360 was way bigger than PS3.
Yeah. It could be Sony thinking, well, UK is the market where we could sell more Vitas by launching this newer model, where the rest of Europe will buy the Vitas that they will buy with the old model.
Okay. But again, yeah, it is definitely, it makes sense to kind of make a push in the areas that you want to expand. But still, as a Sony fan, it's been kind of a letdown during the PS3 run to kind of see all these things kind of go right by our noses in other countries.
On the other hand, I've heard a lot of American fans complain that Europe gets better PlayStation Plus games.
Well, that's kind of a potato, because it goes both ways. The US in the beginning got very good deals. Sony Europe has definitely come up to speed with that. But again, Sony Europe doesn't always offer the same games to all of Europe. There are certain countries that, but again, that's due to censorship and so on.
And rights. One thing I do like about the new Vita, other than it being longer battery life, is that it's actually going over to micro USB instead of the proprietary Vita stick, which is great if you don't have one. Now I feel like that I have the old one. If I buy a new one, should I then keep the cable to the old one? And it just keeps getting complicated that way. But for future stuff, if they could just use the same for everything, that would be really great. Yeah. Same you charge your controllers with and everything. All right.
And standard memory sticks.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I don't see that happening right away, though.
No,
those memory
they make too much money on that.
But even just give us the 64 gigabyte card. I'll be happy to pay way too much money for it.
And don't stop at 64.
Yeah. Give us a terabyte right away.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
The cloud. Give us the cloud.
Next story, leak hints at dates for continued Xbox One rollout. So a guy on new Gav who has been verified to be a legitimate poster has listed the countries where Xbox One will hit next. So the first list of countries will be where it should hit in April, and that is in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Russia, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, Colombia, Chile, and Argentina. And then there's a group of countries where it hits in October, so way later, and that's China, Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, Greece, Portugal, Slovakia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, United Allied Emirates, Israel, India, Indonesia, and Egypt. Curiously, the Benelux countries and Switzerland are nowhere to be seen. Then again, there's nothing to say that these lists are complete. So this is nothing confirmed. But what do you guys think of this? Ricardo, you can't be too happy about Portugal being on the...
Yes, of course not. It's actually sad because Sony reported that last year they had 72% of the market here in Portugal. And it's sad to see that while Nintendo is actually trying to change that, Microsoft here it just doesn't exist at all. So I think, and this is just one more proof that Portugal doesn't exist on Microsoft's radar. So I think that's unfortunate because they have a great console, great products, and just sad.
Yeah, Bengt? We lost Bengt. Philip, what do you think?
Well, again, it's kind of interesting, like we mentioned before, with Sony kind of pushing in territories where they're not really the prime choice. It seems that Microsoft is going in a completely different direction, where the territories where they're not the main console, they couldn't care less. They're happy with what they have, the territories that they have. Everything else is secondary.
But don't you think that's about being realistic? They can see now with how positive a buzz that Sony had at E3 and all that, and Microsoft had all those problems, that they're like, we need to fight for the areas where we have a chance. And that Sony thinks, well, like, there's no point in releasing in Japan right now. We're like, Microsoft, there's no way they're going to take Japan. We need to try to take the territories that we had with PlayStation 2, that we lost with PS3, and take those back.
Taking them back, yeah. I mean, again, Microsoft has always been very like centered around the US and all the features that it seems also. I mean, watching the press conference back in, what was it, in the springtime?
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of the features that they announced were very much for the American audience.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing there as a Danish consumer that was very interesting, and I've even heard from people, and you might correct me in the comments if there are any Xbox One owners out there, but some of the TV features and so on are very limited, even to the point where kind of doing picture-in-picture TV and gaming doesn't work properly due to Danish television being broadcast in 50 hertz, gaming happening in 60 hertz, and that kind of causes.
That's the Xbox One you're talking about.
This is the Xbox One, yeah.
There's also something there with that it's not out here, but
exactly. Yeah. So also that's what I was going to say. Yeah, again, that might be the reasoning for the kind of delay, that they need to fix these kind of things.
Yeah.
But again, it's never been priority one. It's always been the US first, and then we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So we're going a little bit over time. I think we should shortly. Ricardo, you have a news story, and Bengt has one. So, Ricardo, can you tell us about?
Did we skip over the whole juicy part of this rumors?
The what?
This is just like rumors of the. We've only been talking about the rumors of the day. There was a lot of stuff in that leak.
All right, let's hear it.
Yes. I mean, the juice was Crackdown 3 in 2016, Forza Horizon this fall.
Forza Horizon 2?
Fable. What?
Forza Horizon 2, right.
2, yeah, Forza Horizon 2. That Fable Legends would hit next summer, would get Quantum Break this winter, Sunset Overdrive this fall, and there was also the picture of the Titanfall bundled Xbox One Special Edition. And the latest news is that Microsoft are looking for whoever the leak was, because they're not too happy about it.
Of course not.
Which I can understand, because this was a lot of information that could be packaged a lot better than via a thread on NeoGAF.
Yeah.
So, but as we said, all of these rumors are just rumors for now. I think if it is actually April for the Nordic countries, we will hear very soon about that, if that's the case.
Yeah, they need to start advertising the console before it's actually released, so that should happen soon.
I don't know what the situation is in Denmark, but in Sweden it's not really a problem getting an Xbox One in a store today. A lot of stores are selling it, and I think Microsoft need to move quickly if they want to have some sort of impact when they launch it here officially, because there are already thousands of Xbox One owners in Sweden.
Okay. All right. Bengt, before we go to your Remember Me story, let's hear Ricardo with some Pro Evolution Soccer.
Yeah, basically, Shinji Hirano, the boss of Konami's Europe, told during an interview with the MCV that they are expecting the comeback for the next Pro Evolution Soccer, and that it's basically they said it's a transition game, and that more importantly, I like the way they said that their UK studios are working on the game, and not only the Japanese, which I think it's a first for Pro Evolution Soccer. So I think that's pretty good. I'm very interested to see what they can do with the Fox engine and on the PlayStation 4.
And it would be nice to have some competition again between Pro Evo and FIFA, because
exactly.
It seems right now FIFA is like way ahead.
Yes, exactly. The last generation was all about FIFA. The previous one was all Pro Evolution Soccer. So I'm very curious to see who takes the lead on this one. FIFA is already out. It's great. So Konami has to step up the game. So let's see.
And this is Pro Evolution Soccer 2015 that's coming out in the fall of 2014, correct?
Yes, actually they only announced it for the PlayStation 4, which is weird, but I'm guessing it will come out also on Xbox One and all the other platforms. But yeah.
Okay, maybe a deal that's been made there as well.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. Let's see.
All right, Bengt, do you have anything to add, or do you want to jump ahead to Remember Me?
No, I just, it's interesting the timing that they're starting to talk about it this early in the year.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to get that story out that they want to create some changes. Also, it's sort of like last year they talked a lot about, how that was a year of transition. They started with Fox Engine last year, but that there would be a lot of changes for this year as well. So it's like it's a little bit of the continuation there. but I'm curious, and I wouldn't be 100% sure that it's coming out on Xbox One. Just given the markets where Pro Evolution is strong, if they have to prioritize, I think you'll see it on PS4 and PS3 and Xbox 360. They might not bring it out on Xbox One this first year, unless the last time. I mean, Microsoft paid a lot of money to get it on Xbox 360, so I'm not sure that is the case now. So
this time they paid FIFA. FIFA is a huge game for Xbox One. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's a market where Xbox One is going to be so strong that Konami are going to make any serious money on PS 2015, but maybe 2016. Then there will be enough Xbox Ones out there, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Bengt, and you have the final news story of the day?
Yes, and it's a sad one. Several French outlets are reporting that Don't Not Entertainment, the people behind last year's Remember Me, have filed for bankruptcy in France. Now, I'm not entirely familiar with French sort of bankruptcy law, but that is a pretty desperate means. In America, for instance, it works like the Chapter 11. You can restructure your company without fear of the creditors coming after you. But I'm not sure how it works in France and if there's any way to resurrect the company. But obviously, Remember Me didn't sell as well as they hoped, and perhaps they were hoping that it would have sold better, and perhaps they didn't get a second publishing deal that would have secured the future. It's a fairly big studio. I think there are 100 people or something. So if they don't have a contract, they will burn through money fast. It's funny. They were. I read through their tweets, and the last one of the last ones were. That they were celebrating the fact that they were the second most downloaded game on PSN last year.
Oh.
It was free on PS Plus in December.
I think it was actually earlier than that, but
maybe in November.
I
or
downloaded
something.
it as well. Have yet to play it, but
Me, same here. And of course, that sort of goes to show that the developers may not be making a lot of money, even though their game is very popular on PS Plus.
Yeah. But I think for a lot of people, this is a game, like, I don't know, I want to play it, and maybe it's if you work in the industry, you want to try more games, but if I wasn't working in the industry, I probably wouldn't have played it if I had to buy it, but if it's free on PlayStation Plus, like, yeah, I'll try that, it looks interesting enough, and that's also the benefit of a service like that.
I mean, it looked like a very intriguing game, but then the reviews came in and they weren't really super high. I mean, there were decent reviews. It reviewed well, but it wasn't the 9s and the 10s that make people just go out there and buy it. And I think if you're doing something a little bit different, then maybe you need that sort of that push, that word of mouth that this is something really special, instead of just this is a good action adventure, but perhaps nothing super special.
Yeah. Philip, what do you think?
We'll see. I think we're probably going to hear something official from them soon, and what's going on. Yeah, let's hope for the best.
Yeah. Philip, did you play Remember Me?
No, but like you, I also downloaded it. It's just sitting there in my library. Again, like it's sad news as always when a company shuts down like that. I mean, there's a lot of people involved usually, and it just goes to show. I mean, video games become more and more expensive to make. The requirements for sales are higher and higher, and again, it seems like gamers are becoming more and more critical of what they spend their money on, especially because also the economy has also hit the consumer.
It's
Again,
also, if you know it, I might eventually get this on PlayStation Plus. I've started thinking that, and in a year where
I've
like...
never been as bitter as the time, I don't even remember what game it was, where I paid full price for a game only to see it launch as a PS Plus the week after.
It was like now you get Bioshock Infinite like next week or something.
Yeah,
It's like
I mean, again, bitter. I bought it for full price, but again, there I think again, I
If
feel
you played it
sometimes like-
early enough, then it's okay.
Exactly, it was worthwhile, and I'm glad that I supported the developer with the money that I paid for it. Again, like with Remember Me, I also think this is very much an example of how we as the media, the gaming media, suddenly start having a real say in what these games, how they do. I mean, again, this is very much due to the reviews, I think, that have been out there. And I mean, it's good for the consumer, for sure. We're here to kind of help, give an impression of the game so consumers can make up their mind. But again, for a company like this, they might have actually had way better sales a few years back, where less people were reading reviews and such, just from from what they would see from trailers, launch trailers and such. And again, it looks like a very interesting game. I'm really into the whole sci-fi feel of it and everything. But again, the reviews stop me from going out and spending my own money on it.
Yeah, I think it's also that fewer games are taking more of the share of the money out there. People buy Call of Duty every year, they buy FIFA every year, and these games also have DLCs and things you buy on top of it. And you know, there's not the same room for those sort of pretty decent,
the middle
nice
games.
Experiences in the middle, the middle
But then
class.
also
of
last
gaming.
year you had Bioshock Infinite, and at the same time as Remember Me came out, you had Last of Us, and then in the fall we had GTA. So I mean, it's tough to compete.
Yeah, I think
with
Tomb Raider also affected that sort of space. Yeah.
So
there was a lot to compete with, and I think it sort of got in that sort of mirror's edge space. Female protagonist and different kind of game, very interesting art style and intriguing, but really the sales didn't live up to expectations.
Yeah. All right, I think with that, we're going to say thank you for this segment and move over to the next one. Bengt and Ricardo, thanks for joining us again, and have a nice weekend.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
And with that, let's run the Games to Look For clip.
Welcome to Games to Look For February, the GRTV show where we cover the biggest and best games coming out this month. We're back to Albion in the first of this month's re-releases with an HD update of Lionhead's Lost Chapters, itself an expanded edition of the original action-adventure Fable. If you've played any of the series, you know what to expect. Whimsical fantasy fare with a good-evil divide based on player choice. It may be showing its age a decade after its first release, but it's worth a look.
I never open on the first date.
In time for Valentine's Day comes the trio of the best stroke worst sun-kissed vacations you can take, as the Far Cry series is compiled into one collection. They may all share exotic locales and a lot of FPS action, but the games are distinctly different in their delivery and gameplay mechanics. Square Enix finally draw Final Fantasy XIII to a close with their RPG / action-adventure hybrid. At the very least, we're markedly curious about how far the company have pushed the gameplay beyond the franchise traditions. Sure, there's a plot about the world ending, but with Lightning going solo in battle, and environment exploration looks more Uncharted than Final Fantasy, we're eager to see whether All Chains is actually good.
Relax everybody, I'm here.
After multiple games based on other licenses, TT are turning their skills to LEGO's own upcoming movie, which includes a bunch of recognisable faces in block form. They're continuing with the multiple character and LEGO construction gameplay to progress, but levels are now built wholly from LEGO. If you're a TT or LEGO fan, this is definitely one you need to look out for. That barrel-tossing simian is back in the sequel to Donkey Kong Returns. This Wii U release sees more tough 2D platform action, plenty of bosses, and plenty of secrets. Need we really say more?
Game over.
Mercury Steam bring their reinvention of the Konami franchise to a close in this follow-up to the well-regarded 2010 original. Gameplay still hinges on complex combat and exploration, though the latter is being opened up as Dracula gradually, and freely, explores his sprawling castle, skipping between the past and present day as he tries to recover his lost powers to tackle Satan once more.
Something has changed in you, child of the shadows.
Eidos Montreal take another stab at a classic franchise after their take on Decius X. This time it's Master Thief Garrett as he steals his way around multiple districts of the city and gradually gets pulled into a web of political intrigue. First-person stealth elements and gorgeous locales make this a highlight of the month. Also out in February, PopCap's famous franchise gets an intensive reimagining via the multiplayer-driven Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare. Rayman leaps onto yet another set of formats as Rayman Legends releases on PS4 and Xbox One. Insects attack in Earth Defense Force 2025. Omega Force trade Dynasty Warriors for Monster Hunters in Toukiden, the Age of Demons. And we finally may get to see Rambo the video game this month. And that's us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month.
Welcome back to Gamereactor Live, the second part. I'm still here with Philip. Bengt and Ricardo, I think, has the rest of the day off, the weekend time now. But we're going to take a little bit of a look at February and games to look for February. So you saw a little video there. You can, if you missed it, you can see it on the website. We do every month. The first on that list, coming out the 7th. Actually, maybe we should. You mentioned while the video is running something coming out the 5th on PlayStation 4.
Yes, the 5th. It has already been launched, but on the PlayStation 4, we'll be seeing Outlast coming out as a PlayStation Plus perk. Sorry, which I'm very excited for. Needless to say, the PS4 really does need some titles.
Yeah.
I'm kind of really looking forward to getting some more stuff to play, and it being a free game is definitely going to be a lot of fun. I haven't played it all on PC or any other platform, so yeah. So Outlast.
Free games are always welcome, and especially on PS4 when, as you said, there's not a lot of games.
Yeah, exactly. So Outlast.
Can you explain what Outlast, what sort of game that is?
Well, it's a survival horror game. I mean, I've read very little about it. I don't want to ruin too much of it for myself, so I haven't watched too many playthroughs. But it seems very much like, from what I hear, it's like a very scary game. It really brings the idea of scary games back. Yeah. A lot of them have turned very actiony when you look at Resident Evil and so on. And again, it's a game where you don't actually have any way of defending yourself, really. You don't get guns. You don't really get anything. So it's all about just kind of escaping the dangers that you kind of find. And there's a lot of shocks. And so I very much look forward to that.
Cool. And by the way, you guys in the chat, let us know what games you're looking forward to, or in the comments on the video if you're watching this after the stream is up. We'd like to know if we're missing anyone games from this list, or what game is your number one anticipated game of the month. I think we'll talk about that when we get to the end. The game that I was hinting at before, coming out the 7th on 360, Fable Anniversary. Yeah. And that, we're actually just talking about, I'm not 100% sure, but as I understand it, it's an updated version of the original Fable game.
That's my understanding, yes. I'm not sure if they've actually added some extra features, but basically, it's the original Fable.
That came out to the original Xbox, I think. Yeah. Correct us in the chat.
Exactly. We're seeing some pictures here of how they updated the graphics to kind of match the Xbox 360 hardware.
And it does look way better. So if you I guess, never got around to play Fable, or you missed the first chapter or something, this is a great chance to do that. Just like they did with Halo a couple of years back with Halo Anniversary.
I mean, it's a great thing sometimes when they re-release old games in an updated version, just because there are people that miss them. They didn't get to play them when they originally were released, and some games really do hold up to the test of time.
The one thing I have with this is I would have preferred getting the trilogy then. I guess the other two games are already out on 360, but I loved when they did. You know, last year we had Hitman, the Danish game. We've had multiple games on PlayStation where you get the whole trilogy. I love getting the Sly collection. And have that on one disc, and you can play through the whole thing.
But as you mentioned, it might be the fact that the 2 and 3 are so recent that maybe making a trilogy is a bit too soon.
But I'd say then now, like, make the trilogy, put it out on Xbox One instead. But maybe
that would be excellent.
And then if you have an Xbox One, you have more to play there.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump ahead to the next one, which is a re-release of sorts again. Far Cry. The Wild Expedition is coming out the 13th of February on PC, PS3, and 360. And that is the original Far Cry, Far Cry 2, Far Cry 3, and Far Cry Blood Dragon. That's coming out as a bundle for, I think, $40 or so.
Yeah.
Did you play through all the Far Cry games?
I played them all except Blood Dragon.
Okay.
I haven't actually completed a single one of them.
Oh, really?
I played the first one on a very old PC back when it came out. I was having trouble running it, but I stuck with it, and I was very impressed by how it looked. But I got stuck somewhere along the line, and I lost interest. Far Cry 2, I also kind of got stuck in a bit, and I never got around to finishing it. And Far Cry 3 again. These past few months.
They are long games, I will say.
They're long games, and I've just been kind of spoiled for choice, I guess. There's been so many games to play, so I never actually got around to finishing that either. So yeah, and Blood Dragon, I never found the time to play.
That is a shorter one though, so maybe you'll have.
Exactly, I hear very good things about it though, so I really want to try it. So this might be actually a game that I like a bundle I might be interested in getting, so I can get all the games all at once, and I can finally get through the first, the second, the third, and Blood Dragon.
I played the first one just a little bit at a friend's house, and I remember we got spoilers for Far Cry 1. There's the whole alien thing at some point.
You know, the mutants or
something that I didn't see him play, but I played with him in the beginning, and then he mentioned that, and I was like, okay, I lost interest in that. Never got around. Far Cry 2 was actually one of the very first PS3 games I got, and one of the games I've played most. I think it's an underrated game. Absolutely loved it. Played through it multiple times, and Far Cry 3 as well. Played through it a lot, like multiple times. Gotten the platinum, all that stuff. Played through Blood Dragon. So the thing for me with this is I have Far Cry 2 on a disc. I have Far Cry 3 on a disc, and I have Blood Dragon as download. I wouldn't mind buying like a download version to have on my PS3. Yeah. But as I own 3 of the 4 games, I don't really know about buying the bundle. Will there be something that can look at like what games do you own already? Can I buy just Far Cry 1? Because I would actually, now that I feel so invested in the franchise, go back and give Far Cry 1 a chance. And I don't think that's available on any.
No, I don't think any console actually has Far Cry 1. So that would be one of the reasons to get this bundle, is to be able to play it if you're.
But I don't know if I want to play for the whole bundle to get the original Far Cry.
Exactly. Yeah. It might be a bit much. Again, like I also own 2 and 3, so maybe paying full price or the full bundle price for 1 and Blood Dragon, it would be cool if they were to release, I don't know, like every game standalone for a low price and then save on the entire bundle.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll report on that when we get closer to it and see what happens.
For sure.
On the 14th, we have multiple games being released. We have the always wonderful Final Fantasy titles. Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, XII. So you just mentioned you played Final Fantasy 2. Did you play the original Final Fantasy 13?
I played the original 13. Lost interest. Again,
Did you play that just for funsies?
Yes, yeah, just on my own time. I played it, and I got to the point where the world opened up more, kind of halfway through the game.
Okay.
But then, again, other games got released, and it was a very time-consuming game.
Yeah.
And then 13.2, I had the honor of reviewing for Gamereactor, so you can check that out on the site. definitely like I think the first Final Fantasy game I've actually finished, but that was more due to.
But they are also long.
Yeah,
games.
I wanted to finish 10, but my disc got scratched on the PS2. Went out, bought another disc, actually paid full price to actually get to finish the game. That disc got scratched as well.
No.
I don't know. I guess it was my PlayStation. It just did not like that disc. But
Did
again,
not like Final Fantasy games.
No. So, but 13.2 I played through, and it was good. I enjoyed it, but there were issues with it as well, that, as they are written in the review.
Yeah.
Sometimes with this currency that you need to kind of progress, and I got stuck in a situation where I couldn't move on in the story.
Okay.
So that was kind of annoying.
Are you gonna play 13? I guess 3.
13.3, I don't know. I mean, the story hasn't quite captured me as much.
My favorite, I don't play Final Fantasy games really, and I would love to go back. People say like 6 and 7 are the ones to play. So I'm thinking of going back and doing that. My favorite thing about Final Fantasy is just how much of a mess like the story seems to be. It's so confusing.
Yeah, you really need. It's very Japanese in that way.
Do you think anybody plays them for the story really?
Well, I mean, the Final Fantasy games usually they always have their own set stories.
Yeah,
so 7 has nothing to do with 8 and so on.
But for this, it does tie into 13.1 and 13.2, right?
Having not finished 13 and reviewing 13.2, took a good amount of reading up on what actually happened and all these relations and so on.
And I hear this is something to do with time travel.
Yeah, the 13.2 has that that as well as a feature, and yeah, it does get
that's just bound to go wrong.
Yeah. So I mean, this is definitely for the fans. You can't just jump straight into 13.3 without actually having played the first 2, or at least reading up on or watching a lot of videos on the game.
All right. All right, let's jump ahead. A game I don't really know a lot about, and it didn't make it into the video, but I just thought we should mention Inazuma 11-3 Team Ogre Attacks for the 3DS. I heard from Bengt that that's like a 3D. If you have a 3DS, that might be the game to get if you're done with Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing and Zelda and all those good games that came out last year. And then, as we saw in the video, I don't know. Do you know anything about this 3DS game?
No, I don't really know much about these 3DS titles.
All right, let's move right along then. Or if you guys in the chat know, let us know. The next game that was in the video is the Lego Movie, the video game. And in my notes, I wrote down what it comes out for, and I just wrote everything. Because it does come out for everything. It's like handhelds and consoles and current gen and next gen and PC and everything. And so now we see, like last year, the standard Lego releases are the ones that tie into the franchises. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all those, Pirates. And last year we saw the Wii U game, the title is escaping. Now we see another one that's not tied into a particular franchise, but it's tied into this Lego movie that's being released that I think we'll have more on in one of the coming shows. What do you think of this? Are you interested in Lego games, and is this something for you, or?
I haven't actually played any of the Lego games, but I hear good things. I'm interested in trying out something, but again, I mean, there was a Lord of the Rings Lego game released as PlayStation Plus for was it?
And there's a Hobbit one coming out now.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like they have an audience, and they seem like decent games.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this movie does, because again, I'm just seeing Lego kind of expand into this whole different.
To see here.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Doris' usual joke is that it's coming out for everything and your toaster.
But yeah, again, like it's funny how Lego, these little building blocks, have become such a huge thing in kind of a non-physical sense where you actually play the game. Because again, it makes no sense. They're building blocks, but they're being animated.
Yeah.
Like.
I've been playing the Lego games a lot. I really like way too much actually. Finished almost all the franchise games, but I'm not really sure about this, because what I really like is playing something like Lord of the Rings, where I love Lord of the Rings, and then they're really good at making references and jokes about that franchise that I love. So the ones that I enjoy are the franchises I enjoy the most, and then it's just built around a good, not like the best game in the world, but it's good gameplay and it's fun to play it. And this, I'm not really sure exactly what the movie is about, but I'm wondering if that will be interesting enough for me, as I feel the main thing is that they're good at making puns and things on franchises that I love.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see when...
I mean, I'm sure this game will sell well.
Yeah.
It's definitely got an audience.
There's
and
Batman in it. That's a good story.
yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah,
if
they're having
if
trouble
the
with-
film managed to have the humor that the games have, maybe this is worth it. And if not, eventually it might come out for PlayStation Plus, and then we'll see about that.
Possibly.
All right. Final game coming out the 14th that I have noted is another re-release, which is Rayman Legends, finally coming out for Xbox One and PS4. So another game for the PS4. Really
Yeah.
lacking some games right now. Did you play Rayman Legends, and would you pick it up?
I played the previous one, not Legends, but
Origins.
Origins,
Yeah.
yes, on the Vita,
Okay.
which I enjoyed a whole lot.
Great game. I think that's might still be my favorite Vita game. Actually.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that game. I tried out the demo for Legends,
Yeah.
and again, I have a girlfriend who doesn't play a lot of games, but
Yeah.
she got really into that demo. But then I started hearing rumors of it coming to the PS4, so I'm kind of holding off. I'll see.
I get why they do it, but I think it's really sad that they haven't done cross-buy with that. Because I bought the Vita version because the Vita just came out and needed a game. I think it's the best version, and I think it might be the best Vita game.
Yeah.
I had also bought it for the PS3, where I enjoyed it. Didn't finish the whole game on PS3, but I think it was fine. It was worth it. It was a great game. I don't think Legends is as good as Origins. And the thing I think I bought the Vita version now because it was on offer over the holidays on PSN. But when they announced that you have to buy all the versions separately, I don't see myself buying the PS3 version and then the Vita version and then the PS4 version.
No.
I was like, the Vita version was cheap, and now I might pick it up for PS4. But if I could, even if it was like some extra money, get some discount on buying all the versions, some cross-buy thing would have really have made me invest in it instead.
Yeah, it's strange to not see cross-buy, or at least kind of how you've seen with Call of Duty and Battlefield, like an upgrade, a discount.
And that's a very cheap upgrade, I think, for Call of Duty and Battlefield and all that. Even if it'd been like, okay, you buy one game, you get the second one half price.
Yeah.
Something, just give me some incentive, because it's just, I think it's too much to buy the same game multiple times like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though we're lacking games for next gen, there's so many games on the previous one that I'm still.
And again, buying a game that's out for last gen, it kind of feels like, okay, do I really want to pay this much money for a game that isn't actually next gen game?
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the thing once you start switching generations on consoles. There's always this kind of overlap of, okay, we're going to have to wait a little bit before we actually start seeing some proper...
Yeah, and I notice now, like, going on trips, like, one of the things we always ask developers is, like, so is this game, like, built on previous gen or next gen, and is it built together, or is another studio? And it's like, because we really want the games that are built for next gen, and where you can because you can really tell that they look a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anybody in the chat got something?
Yeah, actually, another little thing coming out on the 14th is the Last of Us DLC.
Oh, good point. Coming out on Valentine's Day.
Yes, coming here from Emil Nissen.
That is a very good point. I am very much looking forward to that, and I can promise you we will live stream that. I don't know if it will be the 14th or when it will be, but we'll definitely do a stream on that for sure. Now I wonder, the 14th, what will I do there? Will it be girlfriend time, or will it be Last of Us time?
Maybe this will be the cause of many relationships.
I'm hoping that we'll get the code before.
So you can get out of the way before.
But we'll see.
In my case, my girlfriend was crazy about The Last of Us. She actually made me play it every night.
Oh, really?
She was so into the story, so this might be a little thing to do together.
My girlfriend, she's up for playing The Last of Us, but we haven't done it yet. Like, she hasn't seen it, so I feel like, but I guess this takes place before the actual game.
Yeah, this is
so
a
maybe
prequel.
We could play that first and then jump into.
Probably. I mean, there will be probably some references, but I don't think there'll be a whole lot of them. So yeah.
But yeah, this is probably, we'll see when we get to the end. This is probably the release I'm most looking forward to. I can't wait to jump back into The Last of Us.
Again, I'm in this strange situation where I'm so into my PS4.
Yeah, that's why I haven't bought one yet.
I really don't want to go and plug my PS3 back in. But at the same time, like, I mean, if only like we'd have PlayStation Now at this point. Like, if I would be able to sit there with my PS4 controller on my PS4.
But do you actually know, does the PS4 controller work with Last of Us? Because you get a little bit of the feeling of
exactly. You do like a half next gen with it. I don't know. Some games do work with it.
Yeah, I saw a long list of games.
So yeah, check out Wikipedia, wherever you can find this list to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those things that might make me go back and plug in my PS3 and play through it.
It's rough. I mean, as I said, this is why I actually have decided. One of the reasons I've decided to wait with the PS4, because I know if I get a PS4 now, I mean I play it in the office and I play it sometimes, but if I have one at home, it's very hard to turn on the PS3.
Exactly. It feels kind of like, oh, why am I taking this step back?
And I have so many games on PS3 that I still haven't played, and you're getting games on Plus, and it's like, so I still haven't actually finished GTA 5. I need to finish that. Yeah. Games we get on Plus like Remember Me, and it's too many games.
Again, PlayStation Now would help a lot, because it's not the fact that I'm playing an old game.
No.
It's that I'm playing it on old hardware.
Yeah,
I can play The Last of Us, stream it, and it might even look a bit worse.
But also getting used to some of the features on the actual system. Bigger friends list and like other things that are more important than that actually, but then having to go back to a system that works different and the controller is different.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump ahead. The 21st, I have one game noted down, but I think we should actually mention a game that I forgot to put on a list, but that I know we're going to stream for the Wii U, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
Coming out the 21st. The first Wii U title of the year that I could move some units for Nintendo, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think it seemed like Super Mario last year, 3D World, helped push the Wii U a lot, and was maybe the first game that really made people take the Wii U seriously? Do you think Donkey Kong has the power to do that just like Mario?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Donkey Kong has a very strong following, and also like I myself am I used to have an NES, an SNES and everything, and Donkey Kong Country is still one of my fondest
memories. On the
memories.
handhelds as well.
Yeah.
Great games.
So yeah, there's definitely like it has pretty much as much selling power, I would say, almost at least,
Do you think so?
as Mario. Yes, I would say so. Again, like with the generations that are kind of growing up now and everything, they're kind of the Donkey Kong generation. The Mario generation is getting a bit older. They might not be the people buying games anymore.
Really? I would say, because I like Donkey Kong, but I hope it does well, and I could see it move units, but I think Mario and Zelda are really the two franchises that would really, that's the one, like if you buy a Nintendo console, you want the Zelda game, you want the Mario game, and a Mario Kart. And then the rest of them doesn't, like they're important, but they don't move as much.
Well, it's possible, but again, yeah, my point being, again, the whole, like Mario and Zelda, these are old games. Like the first Mario, the first Zelda, and I'm seeing kind of a shift in generations of gamers.
Okay.
Where gamers thinking back on the old days. When I think back on the old days, I'm thinking Mario, I'm thinking Zelda, but the average gamer nowadays, at least on the Nintendo console, seems to be, when they think back, they think Donkey Kong Country. They're from the SNES era. And that might be able to kind of pull some people in more so than Mario, which has been kind of just been there the whole way through. Donkey Kong Country making kind of a reappearance.
The other thing that I'm thinking could really help push the Wii U now is another Metroid game.
People have been screaming for another Metroid game, I've noticed, for a long time now.
And like the games in the trilogy, not like other M.
No, exactly, like a proper. Yeah.
Or like, I don't know if a 2D one would be something that people would. But I guess that's more of a, like maybe on the 3DS you would want that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, again, like Nintendo does have a lot of franchises that they can pull on, and it's surprising not to see any Metroid games having made it out.
What do you think of the whole thing with the Wii U? Whenever we talk about what Nintendo needs to do for the Wii U, we talk about pulling out old franchises. Isn't it time that Nintendo does some new IPs? Yeah,
very much. I'm not one of the people to say that they need to pull out old franchises, because I mean that's their thing. That's what they do. That's what they're known for.
But aren't we? I want another Uncharted game, but I'm so happy we got Last of Us. That Sony and other developers keep pushing that we also need to do new IPs.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think where Nintendo, the only kind of real, like proper games that you see for Nintendo platforms are first-party developed. And they have this...
And it's the classic series. It's very rarely a new IP.
Exactly.
When's the last big new IP we got? Is that Pikmin, like 5 or 6 years ago?
Probably, yeah. And again, that's their internal studio. They can only handle that much, whereas on Sony's console, they have all these third-party developers that kind of want to try out new stuff.
But they also have like 13 first-party studios with Sony that...
Yeah, Sony's been good about like buying up the studios and such, where Nintendo is kind of stuck with their own little team doing these things. So yeah, like new titles for Nintendo that kind of scream, "This is Nintendo. This is our new thing." That's what they need. They need that new Mario. They need that new Donkey Kong, and perhaps maybe something a bit more adult oriented.
Yeah, I would like, because then they're talking about this whole innovation with the hardware and with the fitness and all these things, that I would love just to have a Nintendo console with something like the Pro Controller, like normal control instead of all this waving around, and then start innovating on the IPs and the gameplay instead of the hardware.
We're just getting a little bit of a correction from Aiming This and saying Zombie U was a new IP.
That is true, but that is not a Nintendo. It's not a first party. That's Ubisoft developed.
Exactly.
I think, when is the last time Nintendo themselves actually developed a new IP?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's been like download titles and all that stuff, but like a big first party game from Nintendo that's not Mario or Zelda or one of those.
And again with Zombie U as well, it was a decent game, but still critically it didn't do as well as a Mario game and so on. So again, another point of Nintendo knows how to make Nintendo games. Third-party developers are having a hard time making games for the machine, it seems.
Yeah.
For that audience, at least.
All right. Also coming out the 21st, Rambo the video game coming out for PS3, PC, and 360. I wonder why that is coming out now. Is there a new Rambo film coming out, or is it like re-releasing a box set on Blu-ray, or?
I haven't actually heard much on the title, but. Yeah, I don't know where this came from, that they're suddenly releasing this game. So somebody in the chat, please help us out, because we're
we see footage from it here. It looks like it's the classic, the original First Blood.
First Blood, yeah.
I mean, sure, a Rainbow game, but I would be worried right away with the whole movie tie-in games. They tend to not be so good.
Yeah.
I don't really. Oh, it looks like it's a whole trilogy. This looks like a poor man's Far Cry or something like that.
It doesn't look too impressive, no. I mean, what we saw before when he was in the woods and so on, there was definitely possibilities of interesting gameplay there.
Yeah.
We kind of, almost Metal Gear Solid 3-ish, kind of sneak around and so on.
And it could be fun. Like, there's definitely good things about Rambo. It's a fun
and
franchise.
What platforms is this coming
360, PS3, and PC. So also, you can tell it's not next gen for sure.
No, but there's also some things there with the crosshairs moving across and everything. It almost seemed like a Wii game. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like a bit of a strange title. It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. All right, and I'm not completely sure about the date for this, because I think I saw it as the 27th, and some place it was listed as 28th, I think. We have Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, which is the sequel to Plants vs. Zombies. That is a totally different game, actually, than the tower defense game that we saw the original be. Yeah. Coming out for 360 and Xbox One. And actually, I will say, check out the sites, because there was some news this week about, I think, online co-op was on both versions, but local co-op only on Xbox One, or something like that. But there's more details about that on the sites.
Yeah.
So, Plants vs. Zombies?
Well, this is one of those titles that I'm kind of jealous of the Xbox getting.
Yeah.
And I could see it coming on the PS4 as well. It might be one of those timed exclusives, as we've seen Microsoft be very good about calling exclusives. I really enjoyed the first Plants vs. Zombies game. And again, I don't know if you could call this a sequel, because there is a Plants vs. Zombies 2.
Yeah.
But it's kind of set in that universe, and it seems... It has the proper humor. It's very silly. It's definitely a very different game from.
I like that they tried to do something different. With
it. I mean, definitely. Like some other game developers could definitely learn from this, not just to kind of go with what's safe. And again, like looking at this, I really want to try it out. I really want to play it. It seems like a lot of fun. And again, split screen co-op. Seems like a lot of fun to sit there on the couch and play.
I have something because I love local co-op or multiplayer in general. And I think it's great at trade shows and events and review trips and all that. You go play a game and it's so much fun, you're playing it. But in my experience, often when I'm back here living my normal life, it's very rare that I actually do local multiplayer. How do you feel about that, dude?
Well, actually, I actually do these nights where I actually do these bigger game events.
Yeah,
I
good idea.
work part-time in a student bar, so we have people, we invite them down, and I'm actually finding it hard to find games that we can play.
Oh, really?
More people sitting there. So usually it turns into kind of fighting game tournaments and so on, which can be fun, but it can also be very repetitive. We're trying to find other games that people can sit down and play.
So this would be great for that.
This would be a lot of fun, and I'm definitely looking for...
I saw this together with Peggle at Gamescom, 2 games that are coming out for Xbox One and not PS4 that I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's funny that sometimes it's these smaller games that I'm actually more intrigued to play and more jealous of than the big ones.
But exactly. Again, like Gears of War, sure, it looks like a great game, but never really caught my attention.
There's multiple games in like third-person shooters, first-person shooters. We have enough of those. But
this is unique in a way that nothing on the PS4 kind of has.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Also, the 8th, we have 2 games coming out. We have Castlevania: Lords of Shadow 2. The 3rd game in this series, actually. We had the original Lords of Shadow, and then we had I think we only came out for 3DS. There was a second game there. But now the proper sequel to the original Lords of Shadow, coming out for PC, PS3, and 360. Did you play Lords of Shadow? I'm thinking that was free on PlayStation Plus, or maybe it was like a cheap at some point.
I think it was
PS3.
discounted, but not free, because I have not actually played a Castlevania game since I was a kid on my Game Boy, I think. So all these new Castlevania games are kind of unfamiliar to me, and I mean, if it was free on Plus, I would have definitely played it.
Same for me. I remember, I think then I bought it, but I never got around to play it because it sounded and looked really awesome, the original Lords of Shadow. Never got around to it. I don't think I'll play this now. I wonder, I guess we'll see when the reviews come out, if you need to play the original and what does the 3DS game do. This late in the cycle of PS3 and 360, I really have so many games I feel like I need to play before I move on to next gen.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll play this, but it looks cool, and from the people I know that are into this, they're very excited, and I hear good stuff. So it'll be interesting to see when the reviews start coming out end of the month, almost a month away, or like about a month away. Then the last game on the list, Thief, coming out for PS3, PS4. 360 and Xbone. Yeah. I wonder if it's not coming out for PC. I didn't see that on the list. It might be coming out for PC. I don't know. Are you a big Thief fan?
Another game that I actually haven't played any of the originals of, but I'm being told by all of my friends who've played it that this is one of those games I need to play. Being a fan of other stealth games.
And it's developed by the guys that made Dishonored, I think.
Yeah, I played Dishonored for sure, and that's also where I got kind of.
Oh, that's on my list of games I need to play this year that I missed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Dishonored, and this again, like. Missing games on the PS4. This is definitely going to be one of the ones I'm going to go for. Not just because it's a game that's out on the PS4, but just because it also does look interesting.
All the people I've heard that has played it at events or on trips and wrote previews, you should check out the previews on the sites, of course. Everybody seems to be loving it, so I'm very excited to hear the final review on this. And a game I definitely want to play. I think I'll wait till later in the year with getting a PS4, and then I'm definitely gonna play it. Looks really, really awesome, and yeah, I mean, I never got around to Dishonored, but it's definitely a genre that I like, and it just looks gorgeous. One thing that I really sounded awesome was they actually managed to use the PS4 controller in an interesting way. I think you have that little light bar, and something with that. If you're, I don't remember which way, but like if you're in the dark, that it lights up, and then if you're out where you can be seen, it shuts down. So like the light actually shows you how.
Oh, so you can actually see how visible.
So they actually managed to use it in an interesting way, I think. Which
my main problem with the light bar though is when you're sitting there with the controller actually holding it, it's kind of slanted away from you. So I actually don't see the light bar unless I tilt my.
That's
controller.
interesting because I was thinking I don't see it that much, and I hear people who are complaining that they were like being blinded with it, and I'm like,
no,
how are you playing?
You have to sit very much like this. Where I can see it being a problem is if you have a glossy TV screen, you're sitting in a dark room, it might give a bit of glare on the TV.
But it doesn't light up very much, I think.
No.
But I'm interested
you
to
can
see
stick it
how
right
that
up to your
works.
eye, you won't be.
It could be, if you sit in the dark, that it gives a little bit of ambient light.
I think that's the idea.
And that would be a perfect
lighting,
way of playing Thief in the dark, trying to set the mood a little bit, and then you can see the. But I don't know if it lights up when you're hidden or lights up when you're being seen. I guess we'll see when the game comes out. But that I think is a great little thing, a way of using the PS4 controller in an interesting way.
Yeah.
And that is actually the list. Anybody in the chat came up with something that we missed?
Let me check here. There's a lot of different games, but none of them really seem to be the February games. We're looking at some. How's it here? Thief was mentioned.
Yeah.
But some JRPGs are being asked if there are any coming out. You know, Metal Gear Solid 5 and the Phantom Pain.
No, I think that's later.
But that's all later. We're looking at here.
We did actually. I saw. I think it was today or yesterday that Kojima tweeted out that he was setting up review events now for Phantom Pain. So not too far away. People are beginning to play it. Okay.
So it's moving along. At least it's not just
which means the game should pretty much be done actually, but we'll have to wait a little bit.
We're also having mentions here of Octodad, but
Octodad might be end of February. I don't know. March.
It came. I've seen reviews come up for it on PC.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be far off until.
No, I know it is soon, but I don't. It might not be fine. I could see it actually be early March. Because I think that's going to be free and plus as well.
You think?
I think so.
I don't think anything's been announced.
No, but maybe it's.
But it is. It does seem like with the.
I think that's going to be the next. You know, just like we're getting, we got Don't Starve. We're getting Outlast. I think that will be the next one.
These indie games, But again, Octodad is one of those I look really forward to, and I really want a release date on, along with Minecraft on PS4. I've been holding off on getting it on PS3. Because I know I want it on PS4.
I was like, it's here, but hold on.
And again, it's like, all right, please do some cross-buy then at least. You can't be sure.
But I will say though, it's like 130 crowns on PS3 or something right now.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. It's not like a full price title.
No.
All right, let's hear people in the chat and you, Philip. What would you pick as your most anticipated game of February? You can only play one game in February. What would you play?
Let me think.
Let's go through again. You had Outlast coming out the 5th.
Yeah.
Then we have Fable Anniversary, Far Cry Wild Expedition, Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, Inazuma 11 3 Team Ogre Attacks, Lego Movie video game, Rayman Legends. Then we had Rambo and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare, Thief, and Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2.
Well, I think my pick would have to be Thief.
Yeah?
As much as I look forward to playing Outlast, I see Thief as more of a bigger title.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm looking at games like Rayman Legends and what was the other thing? Or and Far Cry as games that I actually have played a little bit before, but I'm really looking forward to playing on next gen or playing Far Cry, the original game. But when it comes down to it, I would pick Thief as well. Sad, I probably have to wait. Maybe I'll have to come up with a reason to capture some gameplay here in the studio. But I would go with Thief as well, I think. Yeah,
and also of course there is the Last of Us DLC, which
I would pick that. Of course.
But again, if we're talking full games, then Thief. Otherwise, the Last of Us DLC is definitely also up there on my list. If it wasn't for the fact that my PS Series unplugged, then it would have been on the top.
It's good with a reason to plug it back in. What do people in the chat say?
Well, we got Indian Cobran here says Thief for sure. Emil Nissen has high hopes for Thief as well. So Thief seems to be the one winning right now, right. And then of course the Last of Us DLC is also mentioned.
So I will see. I will promise you we'll do a Last of Us stream, and I'm sure we'll do a Thief stream as well when we get around to it.
Yeah.
I think with that, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining me, Philip.
No problem. Anytime.
And have a nice weekend. And be back Monday, where we're actually looking back at January to pick the best game of January. Okay. And we're doing a special movie show where we talk about just films in general. I think we'll look ahead at the Oscars and at the year 2014 in film. So again, thank you for joining. Remember, every weekday from 4 till 6, Gamereactor Live. And we'll see you soon again, hopefully. Bye. Hip Hop Cam.
Welcome to Games to Look For February, the GRTV show where we cover the biggest and best games coming out this month. We're back to Albion in the first of this month's re-releases with an HD update of Lionhead's Lost Chapters, itself an expanded edition of the original action-adventure Fable. If you've played any of the series, you know what to expect. Whimsical fantasy fare with a good-evil divide based on player choice. It may be showing its age a decade after its first release, but it's worth a look.
I never open on the first date.
In time for Valentine's Day comes a trio of the best/worst sun-kissed vacations you can take, as the Far Cry series is compiled into one collection. They may all share exotic locales and a lot of FPS action, but the games are distinctly different in their delivery and gameplay mechanics. Square Enix finally draw Final Fantasy 13 to a close with their RPG/action-adventure hybrid. At the very least, we're markedly curious about how far the company have pushed the gameplay beyond the franchise traditions. Sure, there's a plot about the world ending, but with Lightning going solo in battle, and environment exploration looks more Uncharted than Final Fantasy, we're eager to see whether All Chains is actually good.
Relax, everybody, I'm here.
After multiple games based on other licenses, TT are turning their skills to LEGO's own upcoming movie, which includes a bunch of recognisable faces in block form. They're continuing with the multiple character and LEGO construction gameplay to progress, but levels are now built wholly from LEGO. If you're a TT or LEGO fan, this is definitely one you need to look out for. That barrel-tossing simian is back in the sequel to Donkey Kong Returns. This Wii U release sees more tough 2D platform action, plenty of bosses, and plenty of secrets. Need we really say more?
Game over.
Mercury Steam bring their reinvention of the Konami franchise to a close in this follow-up to the well-regarded 2010 original. Gameplay still hinges on complex combat and exploration, though the latter is being opened up as Dracula gradually, and freely, explores his sprawling castle, skipping between the past and present day as he tries to recover his lost powers to tackle Satan once more.
Something has changed in you, child of the shadows.
Eidos Montreal take another stab at a classic franchise after their take on Decius X. This time it's Master Thief Garrett as he steals his way around multiple districts of the city and gradually gets pulled into a web of political intrigue. First-person stealth elements and gorgeous locales make this a highlight of the month. Also out in February, PopCap's famous franchise gets an intensive reimagining via the multiplayer-driven Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. Rayman leaps onto yet another set of formats as Rayman Legends releases on PS4 and Xbox One. Insects attack in Earth Defense Force 2025. Omega Force trade Dynasty Warriors for Monster Hunters in Toukiden, The Age of Demons. And we finally may get to see Rambo the video game this month. And that's us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month.